Hey guys, Christo Garcia, my swing evolution. Today is one of the most important days of my entire swing evolution because I am the closest I've ever been to actually having a Ben Hogan golf swing. Now, you guys know I've been working on this for a long time, but I've recently embraced a couple new things that have helped me get over what I believe my last things were that weren't really allowing me to swing fully in the style of Mr. Hogan. So before I get started here, let me explain that I play in a money game, a skins game, a couple times a week. It's the only times I make sure that I'm out there. It's just 9 holes, but it's against some really good guys who've played in pro tournaments. And I've been winning some money lately. And the main reason why is because I have been able to drive the ball and just rip it. I mean, I'm talking freewheel swing that golf club and not be afraid of hooking it. That is the whole thing about Ben Hogan. Now, just to let you know, I have always had a Ben Hogan imitation swing, and then I've had my Christo Garcia kind of swing. So, for the first time, I've really begun to have a true synthesis of the two, where I'm fully embracing the Ben Hogan fundamentals and dynamics, and they are happening in my golf swing. It's a little freaky, and it's taken a long time to get here, but I'm very proud to talk about what I am going to talk about today. So, this golf swing that we just watched, this is a down the line golf swing. We'll take a look at this real quick. Here I have a plane line here, and I'm going to tell you this is so simple, but I've got to explain this. It's advanced. I don't advise it for everyone, but I have fully incorporated the wrist hinge and cupped left wrist at the top. I've always been a little scared to do it. I've experimented with it. I've had success with it, and then I've had it go off the rails, but there's another thing I've added to this that has kept it on the rails, which is giving me more excitement than I've had in a long time in the game of golf. It really feels like just a fantastic combination of elements. So we see here I've got my shaft plane drawn up, and I am swinging right down that shaft plane with no fear of going left. I lined that ball up right off that tree. I'm going to try and cut it back into this fairway. So this is my anti-hook swing. So I'm sure I'm not going to hit it left. All I have to do is just not pull it, but I'm not going to pull it with this new golf swing, as long as my weight transfer is good. So here we have it one more time. Watch me go up the target line. Now right here with left arm parallel is where I start to really hinge the club up. And it may not look like it, but you can see that I have a little cup in this wrist right here. But my wrists are fully cocked. And what I'm going to do is just hold on to that as I pull down and rotate. You see that I'm loaded into the ground now. I've got that club. It's just like whipping behind me. I'm not even thinking about that club. I'm just, making my move through the ball with my legs and my lower body. And the clubs and the arms are coming along for the ride. And I'm not trying to manipulate the face of the club. I have a tendency to try and steer the ball, but you have to give up control to gain control. That's one of the greatest lessons that you have to learn. And this is why it's so fun. I'm not trying to control this. I'm just trying to hit the crap out of the ball, and I'm just bombing it and setting up so many birdies. Eagles, it's like crazy. So here I'm in that Shangri-La position. This is the pre-release position, just before gravity helps the release of the golf club as we go through impact. Now, if you'll watch this, I am happier with my hips than I've ever been. Look at how cleared my hips are and my shoulders are. That is something that I've wanted for a long time in my golf swing. Square club face, and I just take that club right up the plane, and the ball flies right down the line that I had intended. And it just fades right off of that tree, right into the fairway, setting up a good birdie putt. Now, this is my setup from the front. This is probably the most important new thing that I'm doing that I want to talk about that is really, really remarkable. So as I take my stance, this is my normal stance here with the ball off my left heel, with my head behind the ball. I talk about that a lot. For most people, this would be a fairly wide stance, slightly wider than my shoulders. But this is not where I stop. I have to get uncomfortable here. What do I mean by uncomfortable? Watch my right foot. I purposefully step it out another width of my foot because it's just, feels so crazy wide to me. Okay, but I'm going to tell you there's a reason why. It was the other evening, I was on a sidewalk and I was just standing in my golf swing posture and I was fooling around with my feet and I was like, you know, Nicklaus and Hogan used to have those super wide stances. That's how all the old guys used to swing. But there's something that I realized about my rear leg. Okay, folks, now what I want to talk about is something I've mentioned in my last video where I'm talking about this right hip. Now, by making my stance wider, it creates a better angle on this right leg. It makes me more rooted into the ground as I make my backswing. I'm really, really driving into that foot, and it's like a stake in the ground, and I'm going to turn around that right leg like it's a post. Now, I've talked about this before, but if your feet are a little too narrow, which mine have had a tendency to be too narrow, you can get your weight too far, it'll just slide off a little bit. It's easy to do. But if you'll look here, I feel like I'm really rooted into the ground. And that's one thing my yoga practice is giving me is a lot of stability. I'm in my 3rd month of yoga. I'm doing it 3-4 days a week. And I'm telling you, there is nothing, I mean, it's one of the very best things. If you're really serious about golf, I think you should be doing yoga. And I think the girls on the LPGA Tour are a great example of that. You know, so here we are, I'm rotating into that right hip. If you notice, I haven't moved off the ball too much. I do turn into that right side. My head goes slightly to the right, but that right hip, I am just really working into that right leg. Now right here, I have a second circle. Okay, I want to put that second circle up here so you can see the cup in my wrist. So I've got so much momentum in that club head. I've got a full wrist cock that I'm going to just throw at the golf ball. It just feels so good. So I get in here, pull that handle down, and I'm not going to try, like right now, I'm not consciously thinking of Hogan rolling. I'm just going to hit the ball with the back of my left hand. Just pull that thing down, turn, and boom. Yeah, that's a good time right there. Totally. Now here I put up a line to show where the position of my ball is, right off of my left shoulder. This is another thing. By making my stance wider, it actually puts my head even farther behind the ball. So I'm going to say this again. I say it all the time. You hit the ball in front of you. You don't hit it underneath you. When you get used to hitting down on the ball, it can rob you of the potential to really be the best ball striker you can be. Hogan and Nicklaus had that ball forward. Keep that ball in front of you. All right, so at this point, why don't we take a look at my head? This is another thing I like a lot. My head is staying really steady. As I mentioned, it's farther behind the ball now. You can see I move off the ball, my head maybe an inch or two. That's the exact same thing that Ben Hogan did. But I'm keeping it fairly steady. This is the first lowering at the top of the backswing, a la Hogan. And then we'll see a second lowering as I go down after this ball. Head still in the box. absolutely crucial. I love this right here, how my head after the second lowering into the ground for leverage, it just stays basically right there as I'm rotating through the ball. Now here, I do not have the flexibility of Mr. Hogan yet. I'm working on it, and I have a slight rise, but Tiger Woods had that in his prime. Here, look at this impact position. That club face is screaming at the ball, dead square, and I'm about to hit that thing over 300 yards. With no fear. That's the thing that's so darn exciting about this golf swing right now. So now I'd like to compare myself to the inimitable Mr. Hogan. I'm doing the best I can, but let's watch this swing. Isn't that crazy? Let's watch it again. That's pretty darn close to the master. Now, it's kind of hard to sync these swings up because, his isn't in slow motion and yada, yada, yada. But let's go back to the top. Look at our stances. My feet felt so crazy wide when I took my stance, but it's about the same width as Mr. Hogan. We're both playing the ball off our left heel. Our head is behind the ball. He has twisted his head a little bit more to the right. That's okay. This one-piece takeaway, very similar. Begin to cock the wrists at the same time. Bringing the club up. The camera position is not exactly the same. His camera is a little bit higher off the ground. Mine is from a lower angle, so it's not going to look perfectly exact. But look at this move. This is the top of the backswing move. Now watch the load. We both cock and load at the top. Let the weight of that club head fully cock the wrists as we start to load left. And then here we're really getting down. Same type of action in the legs too. If you notice here, I'd like to talk about the legs in the through swing. The top of the backswing, very similar. And then watch the leg drive. If you watch our right legs in particular, you'll see something very similar. A slight foot drag and the right leg turning over, creating the spirals in the pant leg. Yeah, I'm so excited about this, I can't even tell you, because it's giving me the game that I've always wanted. I've been playing the best golf of my life, I believe, and free of anxiety. That's the thing. I feel like I can swing with aggression, and I'm not afraid of hitting that crazy snapper. And the guys are noticing. My friends are like, Chris, what happened to you? What's going on here? My buddy Nick is so funny. He's like, I hit drives now, and he's like, sit down. It's going to go too far. And but it's just fun, setting up lots of great birdie opportunities. And I hope this helps you out a lot. And if you have any more questions, I highly recommend my video, The Hogan Code. It's a fantastic instructional video about my journey to swing like Ben Hogan. And this July 7th, 2018, at the Claw in Tampa, Florida, I'm doing a full day intensive from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. I'm going to teach the entire MSE swing method of how I've learned to swing like Ben Hogan. I hope you hit them long and hit them straight. Hey guys, so let's cut to the chase. Here's my old golf swing. And here's my new golf swing. Five years ago, I started a YouTube channel, and I wanted to improve my golf swing by using Ben Hogan's 5 lessons. Well, guess what? It worked. And along the way, I picked up over 8 million views on YouTube, and I learned how to shoot under par. Unbelievable, right? Well, the great news is I have a brand new instructional video called The Hogan Code. In this video, I break down everything that I learned over my long journey to learn to swing like Ben Hogan. And now you can learn the very same techniques that I used to become the golfer I always wanted to be.